to the Expanded Solar for All webinar. I know we still have some people logging in, but we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Max Joel. I lead the New York Sun program at the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, NYSERDA. I'll be delivering the presentation today, but I'm joined by a number of my colleagues at NYSERDA, as well as staff from National Grid, and multiple people will be participating in the question and answer session after the brief presentation. Move to the next slide, please. So before we get started, a few housekeeping notes. First, this webinar is absolutely being recorded and will be posted online. We're anticipating a number of people today, so you will be muted when you log in, but you can submit questions at any time through the Q&A feature, which is generally on the right-hand side. We're going to be checking those out as they come in, sorting through them, and at the end of the presentation, we'll be answering questions that have been submitted through the Q&A, but we'll also have an opportunity if anyone wants to ask questions and kick off the discussion verbally as well. Just see the instructions here, add request to speak at your question. We'll be able to unmute you and you can ask a question, make comment, etc. Before we move forward, I'll just say once again, this webinar is being recorded and will be posted. That's always a popular question, important thing to note. Next slide, please. So what we'll be talking through today is first an overview of the Solar for All program that's been proposed by NYSERDA and National Grid. We'll review the value of the program to customers and the customer experience. We'll talk through a little bit about how the process works from here, including the public comment process that is now open with the Public Service Commission. And then again, we'll should have plenty of time for Q&A at the end. Next slide, please. So Expanded Solar for All is a proposal by NYSERDA and National Grid to serve all of National Grid's low-income energy affordability program participants with bill savings from community solar. So that, based on the latest data, is approximately 163,000 households, and many households have more than one resident. Each household would receive approximately $10 a month each month in utility bill savings from community solar once the program is fully implemented. People would not have to sign up separately for the program. Any household that's already enrolled in the energy affordability program, and of course that is a very large number of residents already enrolled, would just automatically receive this additional benefit. Again, the savings is coming from community solar, which I'll go into in a little more detail in just a minute. We anticipate that about 600 megawatts of community solar will be needed to serve this program, and that's about a third of the community solar either currently installed or in sort of advanced development stages in the area served by National Grid Electric. There's a much larger amount of community solar kind of in earlier stage development as well. National Grid will manage the program, including the placement of credits onto customer bills, and will receive an administrative fee of 1% of the total solar credits generated. That's kind of the value of all that solar electricity being fed into the grid. For managing the projects and customer process. That is the same 1% fee that the utilities currently charge and have been allowed and ordered to charge for managing community solar net crediting, which is becoming the main way to manage individual community solar customers, people who just sign up individually. So we've kept that process or that fee level the same. Next slide, please. So for folks on the webinar who are sort of first finding out about community solar, don't really know too much about it, the idea of community solar, which has been around in New York since 2015, is that not everyone can put solar on their rooftop. Not everyone owns their home, especially in New York City. A lot of people live in apartment buildings, or maybe just you don't want to install panels on your home, or you have a big tree in front of your house or whatever. Community solar lets you subscribe to receive a share or a portion of the energy that's generated by a solar array built, somewhere else that's not your house. Usually these are larger solar arrays, up to 5 megawatts AC. For folks who are, unfamiliar with electrical sizes, that's about, 30 to 40 acres of land covered by solar panels. So in upstate and western New York, most community solar development is these, sort of 5 megawatt, 30 to 40 acre solar projects that are then shared out to at least a few hundred customers apiece. And what works, I have community solar myself at my home. You sign up through a community solar company, and then every month credits get placed on your utility bill for the value of your share of the generation, and you then in turn pay the solar company, usually or really always with some savings to the customer, typically about 10%. Um, so what we've sort of seen is that to date, we've seen really great expansion of community solar, a lot of uptake. Uptake for low-income families has really lagged for a number of reasons. So Solar for All is all about helping low-income customers sort of take advantage of community solar, participate in the clean energy development, and see really reliable savings. Next slide, please. So here's how it will work. Again, anyone who's already enrolled in the heating assistance program, the energy affordability program, will automatically be enrolled in Solar for All. NYSERDA and National Grid will work to source the community solar throughout National Grid's service territory. Upstate, again, this is just the electric service territory. Unlike sort of traditional community solar, the community solar project owners, the developers of these solar projects, will be paid directly by National Grid for all of their electricity. The amount that National Grid will pay will be determined by either an RFP or sort of a standard offered price, but it will be at a discount to the value of that electricity. So all those savings, all those credits and all those savings will be pooled together and distributed to all of the customers in the National Grid electric territory that are on the energy affordability. And each customer will receive credit on their bill each month. And we'll have a picture of what that credit will look like in just a minute. Customers do not sign a contract. They don't have to commit to anything or sign up to anything else. They get it. It will get it automatically again because they're already in the program. And if anyone for whatever reason doesn't want to see that credit on their bill, they'll be able to just call up National Grid and say, please take me out of it. Next slide, please. So getting a little more into why NYSERDA started to look in this direction as we've started to really advance our work on equity and serving low-income customers more broadly. A very small portion, these numbers are relatively recent, a relatively small portion of National Grid residential customers are currently enrolled in community solar. And you may see the CDG, that acronym in this presentation. That stands for Community Distributed Generation, usually just means community solar. Now there's, as shown here, about 10% of Grid's customers are in the low-income program, the EAP program. So that is the group of people who we are trying to serve through Solar for All. Next slide, please. So when we look in more detail at the National Grid customers who are already subscribed to community solar, and CDG and community solar mean the same thing. So now the pie chart shown on this page is just that, what on the previous slide was that tiny little slice of people already done community solar. Most of the people currently in community solar are not low income, or they're not participating in EAP. We see the number 1,230 EAP participants are currently signed up for community solar. Pretty much all of those people have signed up through an older program, also called Solar for All, that NYSERDA has been running for a few years, where individual low-income households can just sign up directly with NYSERDA and get a guaranteed savings community solar subscription. So those people weren't signing up through private companies. They weren't reached through sort of the regular community solar market. They were enrolling in kind of an earlier version of this program with NYSERDA. And what we're trying to do now, since that program has really effectively delivered savings to these roughly 1,200 households in National Grid territory alone, we're trying to scale that up. But it also, generally shows that community solar, especially were it not for the existing Solar for All program, would predominantly be going to, more middle and upper income households. Again, the expansion of community solar is a really good thing, and something that my colleagues and I have promoted for a long time. But we're trying to ensure that that's an equitable expansion as well. Next slide, please. So let's just dig in a little bit on this automatic enrollment feature. This is something that my colleagues and I have learned, and sort of across the board with programs that to make them accessible to low-income households. We've really learned automatic enrollment is key. I referenced the older Solar for All program. We have a lot of enthusiastic customers, but we also have a lot of people who could have signed up who just didn't get exposed to it, didn't receive information that was sent out, we're a little bit worried about signing up for something, or just didn't want to take the time to fill out yet another application and send in paperwork and so on. So we worked very hard to set up this program so it can be a seamless automatic enrollment process. People don't have to show their papers again. They don't have to, having already signed up for HEAP, show again that they, qualify for this program. It is a benefit provided directly to them. And doing it this way, integrating with the sort of existing heating assistance and energy affordability program, also means really kind of guarantees for the customers that they won't lose any other benefits by participating, because it's all sort of tied together and automated. That was a concern. We really heard a lot from people who were considering signing up for Solar for All, that this sounds great, I'm really interested in solar power, I'd really, of course, like to save money, but I just can't risk that maybe down the road this might affect whether I can get HEAP or not. Just say for the record, it does not affect that, but people still have those concerns. Next slide, please. So another thing we really identified is the importance of reliable bill savings. And maybe I should just for a second underscore that these kind of two key conclusions, the importance of a real seamless automatic enrollment process and the need for really clear, reliable bill savings. We learned this directly from people who would be eligible to sign up for the program. The biggest part of the program design here was just talking directly to potential customers. NYSERDA National Grid worked together to convene some focus groups of current energy affordability program participants to hear about their level of interest in solar power and how they might like to participate in community solar. And then, we also reached out to and surveyed all the customers that are already participating in our Solar for All sort of earlier version. So asking them, what drew you to the program? How could we have made it easier? If you have friends or family who are maybe thinking about didn't sign up, why not? So what we came to again and again is it has to be really easy, and people need to, get to see very clearly and reliably what they'll be saving. So for that reason, unlike sort of a typical community solar subscription, which usually saves the customer a percentage, like 10% a month, that can vary a lot month to month based on the time of year, especially. The proposed expanded solar for all program will target $10 a month, every month, month in, month out. That is a pretty meaningful amount. It'll be about a 15% bill reduction. Again, people see that right on their bill. If we go to the next slide, please. So there's a blow up of what it will look like. Folks will be used to seeing their energy affordability credit, which is shown here. Right below that will show National Grid will show a community solar credit. So people can see every month that they're getting those savings. Next slide, please. So this is kind of an important part of the mechanics of the program. It will take probably a few years to get all the community solar projects sort of built and enrolled in the program and generating those credits. So when the program first launches, we'll only be partway there, and we're estimating that in the first year or so, people will only get about $3 a month. As we ramp up, we'll get to that $10 a month target. And because we're ramping up over time and taking in projects at different points in time, we'll be able to sort of fine tune and adjust as we go so that we can stay on track for that $10 a month. Next slide, please. So customer education is really central to the whole customer experience of signing up for the heating assistance program, energy affordability, et cetera. There's a large staff at National Grid that does outreach and education around this programs, trying to get eligible households enrolled. NYSERDA also does a lot of outreach and education around clean energy, energy efficiency, and different programs. So we'll really be, with this program, really be leveraging that existing infrastructure and making sure that people, as they sign up for energy affordability and HEAP, will really know that community solar is a part of it now. And our goal there is, of course, to help people understand what they're seeing on their bills and how a program they're enrolling in will work. But also to really show everyone that community solar is something that can benefit them no matter what their personal situation is. I think a lot of people associate solar power with mainly upper income communities, rooftop solar, but that's just not really the case anymore. Solar is becoming more and more equally distributed, and with this program, again, we think we can achieve a great deal of equity, inclusive of low income households. Next slide, please. So, as I've noted a couple times, there's a lot of community solar development already in the works. Most people will wind up just signing up directly with a community solar company. And then, of course, there's now well over 100,000 rooftop solar installations in New York. So the way New York regulations work is that a person or a household, a utility account, can only be getting one type of solar at a time. So if someone who's eligible is already has solar on their roof or is kind of doing their own community solar subscription, they won't be enrolled in expanded solar for all. They can switch to expanded solar for all. They can call up and do that manually. And then also if someone's enrolled in solar for all, if in a couple of years they want to install solar on their roof, or they just want to go with a different kind of community solar project, they can just contact National Grid and get taken out of expanded solar for all and switched over. Next slide, please. So it's a sort of a similar but special case with community choice aggregation. And folks on the webinar aren't familiar with community choice aggregation or CCAs. This is a program in New York that lets local governments source energy, and now likely to be soon, community solar and other distributed energy resources for the residents of a community. So it's really important and powerful tool for local developing local power projects and also including more people in community solar. So the way this would be set up is, an eligible low-income customer who lived in a community that was setting up a CCA. If that CCA is also doing community solar, that individual could either stay in the Expand Solar for All program, or they could switch to the CCA community solar program. So the way it would work is, that person could just decide, they want to stay in E-SFA, or they could say, no, actually, I'd like to participate in the CCA, and just themselves choose to transfer over. But what we've also suggested in our proposal is that, CCAs may want to take to really focus on driving even greater savings to their low-income residents. That, would be terrific. And in those cases, would be set up so all those customers in the community could just be transferred over to the CCA from National Grid. Again, our goal really here is to deliver the most benefits and savings to low-income customers. On the flip side, if a CCA didn't want to take that approach, they could essentially piggyback on the Solar for All program. Low-income residents would stay in Solar for All for community solar benefits, and could participate in any other part of the CCA that they're eligible for or is offered through the CCA. So again, NYSERDA has taken a really strong position of support for CCAs and local energy solutions. We believe that it's actually a really positive interaction between CCAs and what's being proposed with Solar for All. Next slide, please. Okay, so that was the sort of the summary of the proposed program, how it would work, and the customer experience and benefits. Now I'm going to get into a little bit about where we are in the process and how, if you choose, you can participate. Next up, please. Next slide, please, Riley. So this program will need to be approved by the state's Public Service Commission that oversees utilities and energy programs. So we have, after a sort of some ways multi-year sort of stakeholder process, we filed a complete plan in April. The public comment period opened up in late June. So right now, you can go on to the Public Service Commission's website and submit comments on it. You can read the full petition and submit comments. That public comment period closes on the 22nd. After that, at some point after that, the Public Service Commission can take the proposal up and decide if they want to approve it, reject it, approve some part of it. That's kind of at their discretion. And then after that, we would move into implementation. So we could show the next slide, please. So we've included here the link to the page to where if you're interested, you can make public comments on the proposal. This is a really important part of the process. So, if you feel that this program could, impact, you or your constituents, or simply have an interest, really encourage you to, go to that website, register with the site, and submit comments. Next slide, please. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. I know we covered a lot of material in that presentation. We're now going to switch over to Q&A. So I'm going to go on mute for just a minute. My colleagues have been sort of sorting through the questions that have come in, but we're going to just take a quick look at them offline, and then get back to you and start answering some questions. So hold on for just a second, and thank you very much for your attendance and your patience.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Just a reminder that if you have questions, you can submit them into the Q&A box. My name's Casey Peterson. I'm with Hester Street. We're supporting facilitation of the Q&A today. And I'm joined by my colleagues Ryan Westfall and Michael Perlis. As we mentioned at the beginning, if you would like to ask a question, you can type it into the Q&A box, or if you want to speak, you can indicate so by putting parentheses request to speak after your question, and then we'll be able to unmute you and you'll have up to 2 minutes to ask your question. If we have anyone calling in from a phone, you can raise your hand to speak by dialing *3. And as questions start to roll in, we'll take them a few at a time just to get through as much content as possible. So I'm starting to see a few come in. And also just a reminder that this webinar is being recorded and will be posted. So to start us off, the first question is, what arguments do you expect in opposition to the program? And in what way do you expect this to impact the overall solar market in New York State? Will it impact overall REC prices in any way? It was kind of 3 questions in one. So I will turn it to my colleagues to answer that first group.
Everyone, this is Max Joel again. I can just flip over to the questions here. And what arguments do you expect in opposition to the program? I think the main concerns we've heard have been one from solar developers that are very focused on the kind of individual customer subscription enrollment, with a position that they feel they can do it better, and this is an important market for them to have access to. So in kind of recognition that there's a lot of ways to approach delivering benefits not just to low income but also moderate income customers, disadvantaged communities more generally, including like affordable housing and businesses and nonprofits in disadvantaged communities. We launched 2 weeks ago a kind of parallel program called the Inclusive Community Solar Adder. So that program delivers extra NYSERDA funding to community solar projects that serve that group more broadly. So not just the very specific low income focus that this program has, but low income, moderate income, affordable housing, a kind of a broader disadvantaged communities approach. And that funding is now available for community solar projects and their partners to try to enroll people individually. We'll definitely be looking closely as if Solar for All is approved and we're able to move forward. We'll be taking into account whether a significant number of low income customers have been just signed up individually for community solar through that program, just sort of chosen to go that route, and we'll adjust the kind of size of this program accordingly. So if 10,000 people sign up directly with individual solar companies, we'll just probably shrink this program by about equivalent 10,000 people. the other, main source of concern has been kind of in a similar vein from community choice aggregation providers and some of the municipalities that are looking at CCAs. I think we did file some clarifying comments to try to address some of those concerns, which were primarily around how low-income residents of a municipality that was doing CCAs could be served by one or the other. I'm pretty comfortable with how we've set that up. The second part of this question is how it will impact the overall solar market in New York State, which I think does tie into some of the concerns from community solar developers and CCA providers. That right now we have about 1,500 megawatts of community solar in advanced development in the National Grid Electric Territory. So that's projects that have made, at least in part, in some cases in full, payments for their interconnection to the grid. They've received all their local, planning and zoning approvals, and are expected to be built in the next couple of years. In addition to that 1,500 megawatts, there's a much larger pipeline behind that in earlier stage development. So, when we're talking about 600 megawatts, again, that's about a third when you count in the 300 megawatts that have already been built. So, sorry, I'm throwing out a bunch of numbers there. So that that would likely affect the overall solar market, at least in the National Grid area. We have a mandate under the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, the CLCPA, to target at least 40% of the benefits of our program to disadvantaged communities. So, that sort of proportion and that level of sort of focus and effort, would seem to, be appropriate and necessary with the CLCPA. But it will play a role in the solar market overall. And we're going to be trying to work very closely with solar developers to make sure that this program is phased in a way that prioritizes the benefits to low-income customers, but isn't too disruptive. In terms of REC prices, it will not impact REC prices in New York system. Community solar, distributed scale solar in general, doesn't like that deployment doesn't impact REC prices. REC prices are for larger scale, 100 megawatt sort of projects, kind of a whole different category of project. And I think the other question in that cluster was, what's the timeline for credits to increase from $3 to $10? We're projecting about 3 years to get the full program stood up. And then I think some of these are questions for, there are more National Grid questions. So Jason Small, are you able to unmute?
Yeah, sure. Hi, folks. This is Jason Small with National Grid. I'm a lead engineer and new product developer over here. I see, is National Grid proposing to get a return on the facilitation of this program? So we tried to mimic exactly what the net crediting program was approved to do, and that was to collect 1% of the overall value stack. And the purpose of that administration fee is to pay for the system upgrades that are going to be required for us to enable the program, as well as the ongoing facilitation of that program. The remainder after the program has been the cost of administering the program have been paid for will be remitted to National Grid, and that just gives us a incentive to run the program as efficiently and effectively as we can. Second question is there a requirement for National Grid to reach the $10 per month savings target? No, that's not a requirement. That's simply our target. And as Max said, that we'll creep up on that target over a several year period with increased participation of community solar projects.
Thank you for that. Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Perlis. I'm along with Casey. I'm also with Hester Street. So our next question was also asked in the chat. It is, where does the funding come from for the increased credits beyond what's already being offered? And will some of that come out of other NYSERDA programs? We also have a question that says, if the rates are increased by 1 penny per kilowatt hour for administrative fees, doesn't that essentially equal more than the $3 or $4 per month?
Well, maybe just to, this is Max Julian, just start with that last one. I think I think was a misunderstanding, or the person asking the question misheard it. It isn't 1 penny per kWh. It's a 1% of the total value. So you know, if a kWh is valued at 10 cents, the fee would be let's see, yeah, 0.1 cents. But to so it's it's a much smaller dollar amount. But in terms of the question about the funding source, so most solar projects developed in New York receive funding through the New York Sun program. Just for any solar project, including pretty much that whole community solar pipeline. NYSERDA also received a $135 million budget in order the commission passed last year, specifically to make solar benefits, to deliver solar benefits to disadvantaged communities, low and moderate income households, and affordable housing and environmental justice communities. So when we kind of modeled out the program costs, it may not require any additional funding beyond what's already been committed to, or would be committed to these projects, just through sort of the regular New York Sun funding. If it does take additional funding, that would come out of that $135 million budget. Those dollars, if they were needed, would be put in alongside the sort of regular New York Sun funding. So it'd be an upfront incentive. Essentially, the way the New York Sun incentives work is they're paid out half when the project interconnects and begins operation, and then paid out the additional 50% is paid over 2 years based on the actual performance of the system, how much solar electricity it generates. So any additional funding would kind of be on that timing, and that would be structured so that the total savings delivered by the projects would equal that $10 a month target per customer. I'll note that that $135 million is also the source of funding for that inclusive community solar adder I referenced. There's $52.5 million available for the inclusive community solar adder right now. That is, we're anticipating a much higher dollar amount. That $52.5 million currently available is a much higher dollar amount than even kind of our more pessimistic projections for what level of funding would be needed for the Solar for All program. And the Solar for All program also requires a significantly lower per customer or per investment because of sort of the economies of scale.
Thank you, Max. It looks like we just have one more question, and we still have plenty of time for this Q&A portion. So if any of the attendees have questions, feel free to continue asking them. So this question starts with a comment. It says, I am concerned the program will disproportionately benefit urban communities over rural ones. The program identifies eligibility by using HEAP, in order for National Grid to be aware that a customer participates in HEAP, they have to take gas service for heat. I'm concerned the program will leave out low-income residents in rural areas without gas service, the very customers who have community solar arrays going up around them. Is there awareness of this issue and/or plans to address it?
Yeah, so this is Jason Small from National Grid again. So the eligibility for the expanded solar for all is actually going to run concurrently with the energy affordability program, not the HEAP program. So it will enroll all of National Grid's electric customers that are enrolled in the EAP program. So, you know, part of our goal in designing this program was to be as equitable and as we possibly could. You know, hence the even bill credits for all customers by pooling those bill credits. And certainly we wouldn't want to only focus on our urban customers. We certainly want to get all of our electric customers equal participation under this program.
Thanks. And a follow-up clarification question just came in on that last one, wondering whether EAP is based on HEAP and what that relationship is.
So yeah, it's tied to the HEAP program, but it is not required for EAP customers to be HEAP customers. With our EAP team, they're working pretty tirelessly to find all of the customers who might be eligible for the EAP program and get them enrolled. Case in point, the enrollment over the past year has risen significantly, and they're continuing different avenues to find customers who are eligible for EAP and get them enrolled in that program.
Thank you. We're not seeing any other questions in the chat at this time, so we'll do a last call. And then we can wrap up. Okay, we do have a new question. CCAs, or community choice aggregation, are welcome to offer community solar with greater financial benefits to low and moderate income customers, but they would have to do so without benefit of public subsidies. Doesn't that make it impossible for CCAs to offer community solar?
I can take this one. So, you know, I should have been more clear when I described the new inclusive community solar adder program. That is available for CCAs. So you know, if a CCA is dedicating a big chunk of community solar capacity to their low and moderate income residents, in addition to the kind of the regular New York Sun funding already committed to those projects, they would be able to receive another round of funding, additional funding for everything dedicated to LMI households. We're already working with the kind of established community solar CCA back and forth about in Westchester County about how to sort of account for that in the most streamlined way. It obviously doesn't make sense to sign up everyone individually because that's not what CCAs are about. So we really want to take advantage of that automatic enrollment feature of CCAs, for all the reasons that we've been talking about, in this presentation, why that's so valuable for low-income residents. CCAs have the power to do that for all their residents. So we want to be able to deliver that inclusive community solar adder funding for exactly this reason, to help CCAs offer deeper benefits to their LMI residents. And I'll also say that because of that, the scale of CCAs and their automatic enrollment ability, the economics are, kind of quite good to, for a CCA to do some community solar. So I believe that these sort of savings are pretty achievable, especially with the inclusive community solar adder. And we're taking the position again based on a lot of time spent hearing from low-income customers about what's most important to them. We're taking the position that reliable cost savings are really important to them. So for a CCA, they can take advantage of the inclusive community solar adder, structure their CCA community solar program so that it does maximize benefits for low-income residents as well as moderate income residents. Again, that's fantastic. We're putting a lot of NYSERD is making available a lot of funding to help support that. But CCAs can also consider do they want to kind of piggyback, at least in the national grid area, on the Solar for All program? And residents, again, low-income residents can participate in other aspects of the CCA. There's as far as we've been able to determine, no real drawback to certainly the resident, but also the larger CCA for taking that route. So it really just seemed to be a choice for the local government, how they want to build out their community choice aggregation program.
And before we wrap up, we have a number of participants who have dialed in. So we just want to remind them that if they would like to ask a question, they can raise their hand by typing in *3 on their phones. So we'll just leave a moment to see if anyone that's called in would like to ask a question. We want to make sure that people who aren't using their computers for this seminar can participate. So maybe while we wait, we have one more question that came in. The question is, how did National Grid decide to offer $3 to start? That seems low compared to what the current competitive market is offering, especially in light of the fact that the utility has access to customer data, making customer acquisition costs low, and it will receive a return to administer the program.
Yeah, so to clarify on sort of the dollar amounts that we have mentioned during the presentation, I don't think we're certain that we're going to start off at $3. The amount of discounts that will be available for the program is purely dictated by the amount of solar project capacity that we have enrolled in the program. So, as Max mentioned, to start, we probably won't have the full enrollment of the solar capacity that we want to see in order to get to the $10 per month discount. We'll have less than that, and whatever that capacity is, whatever we're able to enroll leading into the start of the program, will dictate the amount that is available as bill assistance to the EAP customers. As time goes on and we enroll more and more capacity, that amount available will increase linearly with the amount of solar capacity enrolled. So, we haven't, that $3 number was meant to be descriptive more than it was to be prescriptive. Hopefully that answers that question.
So it looks we have one more question that just came in. It says, even in consolidated bill CDG, there's a role for customer management by the developer. CDG customers have a direct relationship with the generator and see how much power their shares produced. So who will fulfill this role for E-SFA customers?
Yeah, so that role will be fulfilled by National Grid. As the current pay structure dictates, National Grid has to understand how much generators are generating on a month-to-month basis and pay them based off of that generation allocation. So National Grid will continue to do that, and on the back end, the credits that are pooled for the customers, we will distribute those to the customers as we described in the program.
Okay, so it looks like we answered all of the questions that were asked. So we just want to mention that we will be following up next week with an email with all of the links provided in today's presentation, along with a recording of this presentation and the slides for people to peruse at their own pace. I'm not sure if Max maybe wants to close anything out.
I'll just close out by thanking everyone again for joining today, and thanking everyone at NYSERDA, National Grid, and Hester Street for helping set up and facilitate this webinar. I guess once more in closing, this has been recorded. It will be posted online, but certainly if you have any additional questions, you can reach us at the communitysolar@nyserda.ny.gov address. And then once again, actually, if we could back up to the page with the link to the comments. Back up one. Maybe we can't go backward. But anyway, in the presentation, when it's posted, you'll find that link to the Public Service Commission's page. Again, if you're interested or feel this impacts you or your constituents, there it is. Please do consider filing comments. It is a really important part of the process. It's all public and transparent. So thank you once again, and have a great afternoon.